Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will. Me and Mr. Will are back, but we still smell like a vacation. You know, he took some time off. Hopefully, you missed us. Last episode we did was on Venom 3, which has like is like 400 million now in the box office. Amazing. If you listen to our review, maybe we thought it was gonna make about $450, $450, but it is doing good. So shout outs to everybody from that. Um, as I said, we're back. This is season 6 for us, Mr. Will. 6
Yeah, that's
seasons we've been
crazy.
doing this, one movie at a time, just trying to
True
bring
indeed.
the good convo, deep conversations about things that you didn't realize and movies that you like. That's what we've been doing. That's what we're continuing to do.
Mm,
If you like this vibe, we're asking you to like and subscribe and share right from the beginning. And once again, shout outs to everybody that's done that for us already. So many people have liked our
yeah,
page. We've been
definitely.
doing this for less than a year now, and subscriptions are growing. We appreciate that. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and we're gonna try and make sure we deliver some high quality stuff. Um, this for the first 2 weeks, we actually do something that was a little bit different than what we've normally done. If you've listened to the show in the past, we've talked about a lot of different movies that have had a sequel or a prequel. We did Star Wars Episode 3. We did Dune 2. We did the Marvels. Like we've done some different things that were a part of movies. Yeah,
Creed
Creed. Well,
joint.
we started with Creed 2, right? We didn't even start with Creed 1, right?
Hmm.
But this month, to kick things off, we are going to do two. We're going to do the Gladiator movies. So tonight we're going to talk about Gladiator, which came out in 2000, and then next week we're actually going to do Gladiator 2, which is going to be in theaters. So this is a good kind of get the prequel in, and then get the sequel, or the first movie and then the sequel, and then we go from there. But before we get started, man, Mr. Will, what's up with you, man? How you been?
Man, I'm all right. I'm just taking it easy. You know what I mean? Trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents. Other than
Hey,
that,
I've
man,
been
how
good,
have you
man.
been?
Just dealing
What's
with
going on
this
with you?
crazy weather. It's like 70 degrees on Monday,
Mm,
40 degrees on Tuesday. We if we
dude.
would have did this like a
Whew.
day ago, I would have had on a tank top, man. Now it's like now I got the sweatshirt on. 2 weeks from now, I might have a bubble jacket on, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like we doing the project scenes in a Nas video, like that type of joint, with the hat with the brim joint. That we about to take it there. But overall, man, I'm good. I'm always looking forward to get back to doing this. This is a lot of fun. And we got a great movie, right, to get into. So
Yes, yes.
this is a classic, man. So like without further ado, man, let's jump into it. Give the people what they want.
Mm. It reminds me of that old Jalen and Jacoby
Got
joint.
to give the
Got to.
people
Yes,
give the
sir.
people what they want.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Shout out to those dudes too, man.
Yep.
Actually missed them cats. But like CJ said, we must begin our journey. So, set in ancient Rome, Gladiator follows the journey of Maximus Decimus Meridius, played by Russell Crowe, a respected general in the Roman army who is betrayed by the ambitious and power hungry Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix, the son of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. After Commodus murders his father and seizes the throne, Maximus is captured by slave traders, separated from his family, and forced into the brutal world of gladiatorial combat. Driven by a thirst for vengeance and justice, Maximus rises through the ranks of the gladiator arena, earning the support of the masses while plotting his revenge against
There
Commodus.
it is, man. I never really thought about how this joint was like he kind of got sold into slavery, like on some 12 years a slave joint. I forgot.
Mhm.
I didn't even really think about it until you just brought it up, man. Yo, go ahead.
Yeah, but their thing of slavery was not based
Yes,
upon
yes.
race, obviously, and even though that there is Juba in there, played by Jijimon um, uh, Hansua, so it's a little bit different with that twist. And surprisingly, this movie is pretty
Mm,
accurate historically from a lot of standpoints. Sure. Lucilla may have had another sister, and it only kind of plays between Commodus and her, so you get the
Yeah.
impression that it's just the two of them, but in fact there were other siblings. But for the most part, this is a very good job of like historical accuracy. These people did exist during this time period. They were in these places,
Hmm.
locations. They did hold these positions of power. So kudos to the entire cast, behind the screen, on the screen, even the
Yeah.
research done on
So it
them,
meets the
man. Really
historical
dope.
fiction standard. It means that's yeah. I
Yeah,
gotta say,
yeah,
man. I mean, this is. I'm not even gonna bury the lead on this one. I really like this movie, man. I really,
yeah.
really enjoyed watching it, and like, I forgot how much I like this movie. So like this came out in 2000. I don't think I saw it in the movie
Yeah.
theaters. I think I saw it outside the movie theaters. I remember people saying to me like, "Yo, you got to see Gladiator. You got to see
Hmm.
Gladiator." And like sometimes, like me, like if you try to tell me something is great, I'm like, yeah, right. That's kind of like that's kind of the way I approach things. But I remember I watched this and I was just like blown away by it, and just by like how like visceral and real and just significant it felt. And
Hmm.
then it's probably a movie I've seen like two or three times in the past, but when I saw it this time, like I'd forgotten like my last real impression of it, and I saw it and I clicked on. I'm like, man, 2 hours and 35 minutes. I'm like, God, this thing is long. And then I soon like within 5 minutes, I was like, I can't believe, like, I'm ready. Like, I'm like, let's do it, man. Strength and honor. I was signed up. I was ready, man. What was your did you see this in the
um,
theaters when it first came out?
I want to say, yeah, I think, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? I did see this, and I saw it with somebody I was dating at the time. So
you did.
yeah, yeah, it was pretty too. It was pretty tight too, because the one thing I do remember is leaving
Strength
there
and
saying "strength and honor," and then some of the dudes that we roll with, like they, as soon as I said it, they
Right.
knew it automatically what I was talking about. So like it was like really weird, like just that spoken but unspoken like
Yeah,
connection.
absolutely.
You know what
Yo,
I
you
mean?
would
Like
you
that
would
was
greet
tough.
dudes and do the strength and honor and grab do the forearm joint.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like
Man,
it
this
was
this
tough,
movie,
man.
yeah, this movie just like it just left the experience with you. So like watching it again, I was just like, man, this thing is so rich. It's just so much in
Mhm.
there that I just really dig, man. And it was good to just revisit it.
Yeah, not just that, man. Aside from the nostalgic aspect and being in a time warp and everything like that, it helped me to put in proper context certain movies that came out. So, for example, like
Yeah,
300,
right.
like there was a
Yes, that's
theme
right.
going
Yep,
around.
yep.
Uh, and then also at the same time, it helped me develop a newfound appreciation of Ridley Scott and movies of this grandeur, of this magnitude. Like this was a big deal when they were talking about the production of it and all the details that were going to go into it, like hiring all
Mm,
the extras and ensuing that their costumes were
mm.
on point too. So it wasn't just about like Russell Crowe or Connie Nielsen in their attire, but like the actual like
Yeah,
stuntmen
yeah.
and stunt women, the extras, like everything was like even the scouting, you know what I mean? Like the directorial sites and everything like that. Like just ensuring that everything was
Yeah.
in its proper place.
The scale of the
Definitely,
movie is amazing, man. And it
yeah,
just
definitely,
like the
definitely.
way that it's kind of shot, it just you feel like you're in each fight. Like even if from the very beginning, that
Hmm.
battle with the what they're calling the barbarians, it's like it just
Yes,
feels
yeah,
like you're in the middle of it. Like so many people just running around
yeah.
fighting, knifing each other, horses falling down. Like it
Hmm.
just puts you like right into the battle right away. And it's like you're watching it like, man, this is like dangerous for real. Like right like it's no
Hmm.
everything is like close quarters melee combat like right from the beginning, and it sets such a good foundation for like the character of Maximus. So like right away
Hmm.
you get that Maximus is a general, you get that he's respected, you get that he's powerful, you get that he's willing to get his hands dirty like his men. So much about the character is given to you in the first 10 minutes without a lot of dialogue happening.
Yeah, and that's also the key to good writing and good direction and then great acting. I think they all lend themselves to each other very well and seamlessly. You mentioned the scene, without speaking about it directly, of Maximus rubbing
Hmm.
his hands in
It's
the dirt,
dirty. Yeah.
like he's getting his hands dirty. You mentioned how, the basically the visceral combat before you was playing before your eyes. It's so palpable. You'll see like you mentioned, you'll see the horses, the fire, the cannons, the stones, and things of that ilk flying in the air from the catapults. Um, I think that not only does it help me to provide a sense of like what it was like during that period, but it also allows me to even have my own thoughts and ideas as far as like what did Germania really
Mm,
look like
yeah.
during that period. um like, so there it's a lot of forests and such, and maybe not to the same degree now, obviously, due to expansion and such, but for them to be able to find that
Yeah.
specific location in order to retrace and to recreate that really like fostered some type of
Yeah.
creativity
And it
within me.
also it also is a good juxtaposition to the city that you see in Rome. Like Rome feels so
Yeah,
much
oh
more
yeah.
different than that. And
Yeah.
like when they show like where Commodus and Lucilla live is like also
Mhm.
like so much more different than even daytime street corner Rome. They kind of show you in some parts, which feels different than the place that Maximus gets taken to like in the beginning, like the sort of like a poor man's gladiator room, the thing that he goes to. Like there's some locations they do like a couple of on location things in this movie that are just really dope,
Yeah.
man. And Ridley Scott, I mean, this there's I know there's a lot of movies that he's like known for and well known for, but Gladiator has got to be like one of the number one. Certainly for me, just in terms of like
Oh
the
yeah.
kind of movie that he's doing, the kind of scale that he's doing on it, and it's probably one of the reasons why he's revisiting it. Now, I know just for me, like, just,
Mhm.
like, I don't know nothing about this next Gladiator that's coming out, so, like, I'm just hearing this one, but I'm sure he thought like, "Yo, this was rocking, like, maybe, let me come back to this well and see what I can do with it," you know?
See, and that's the thing for me. I'm a little bit hesitant when I say this. Talk about Gladiator 2 had been in the works for years, like around the same time as
Okay.
I Am Legend, where
Mhm.
they were talking about a sequel, whatever have you. But everybody would shoot it down because they'd be like,
Yeah,
"Well,
that's a
Maximus is
spoiler,
dead,
everybody.
so like,
Maximus dies in the end. Just
yeah."
in case you didn't know.
And so so everybody's like, how you gonna do that when the hero is dead? We're like, how you gonna flip that? You gonna make it into a prequel? So in everybody's head, they were thinking about like, oh, let's get back to how like Maximus is coming up the
Mm,
ranks, and then
mm,
this is how he garners this attention. And then you would have the classic love story where Lucilla
which is
and
hinted at in
Maximus
this, yeah.
join
Mhm.
together. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like there was like that talk, and then all of a sudden now you get this, and it's like, hey, where'd this
Right.
come from? How did this
And if
happen?
you tune in next week, you'll find out because we've been talking because we've been talking about it. So yeah, we talked a little about Maximus, and one of the things that I think is this movie really does a good job of, and it's not like it's not heavy handed. It could be, but it's not. It's like Maximus is obviously he's the hero, obviously he's the protagonist, but he's got some real character
Mhm.
traits that are juxtaposed very much against Commodus, who's like definitely the
Yeah.
antagonist, but it's like Maximus just has like this character. He embodies a lot of the like stoic principles and philosophies of that time. That and like you said, historically having like a Marcus Aurelius in it is like one of the things that helps
Mhm.
to like give some substance to the story, but also to the character, and also to create that juxtaposition between Maximus and Commodus.
Yeah, I think what you're speaking to is the gravitas of it all, man. Like this joint has, like I said, like I mentioned early on, everyone in here for the most part is a
Mhm.
historical character. However, when you hear the name Marcus Aurelius, now you're like, oh,
Mhm.
I know that person from whatever
Yeah.
I studied in school. So to be able to identify someone that you have this connection with, I think it solidifies the basis in which you can say, oh yeah, this particular movie, there's some seriousness to it. There is some legitimacy to this particular movie. Going back real quick too, do you understand the role that Ridley Scott was on, man? Like this dude was on a roll. He said he had GI Jane
Hmm.
in 1997, took off three
Yep.
years, had Gladiator, then had Hannibal and Black Hawk Down in
Yep.
2001, Matchstick Men in 2003, Kingdom of Heaven in 2005, Goodyear in 2006, and American
Yeah.
Gangster in 2007. I'm not even going to talk about like the
No,
other
that's
movies
cooking. He's
thereafter,
cooking
but
there.
just that stretch, like that's some quality material. So that's why I can see why it took someone of his stature to take on this
Yeah, and then you're
particular
thinking like,
project.
and the Kingdom of Heaven was also like that was like medieval times and everything. I remember that. Yeah,
Yes, it
yeah. So
is.
he definitely found, I think, a genre that his filmmaking works with because he's
Yeah.
like scale, scope, history.
Mm-hmm.
Because even I'm sorry, American
Mm-hmm.
Gangster has like a historical
Is it?
accuracy to it,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I think like using the idea of like let me take real people, real characters, and then put them in and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe put them into like composite characters and things like that helps to
Mm-hmm.
give authenticity to the story, you know. And like you said in Gladiator, you have a character like Marcus Aurelius or a person like Mark playing Marcus Aurelius, and then right away you get like
Mm-hmm.
stoicism, right? And right away you get like
Yeah.
those elements are in there, and there's like a great scene, which I'm going to talk a little bit more between like Marcus Aurelius and Commodus, where like even those Stoic principles kind of come out, so it kind of gets reinforced, like oh these are real things, this is a real person, and it just makes the story feel like you're watching something like oh, Maximus is like a real historical person, and I'm watching his story unfold.
Yeah, no, definitely. And rest in power to uh, Richard Harris, who played
Mhm.
Marcus Aurelius. Matter of fact, he would transition a year later after the movie, 2 years rather, 2 years
Right.
after the movie came out. So definitely props to him for playing someone of a very high stature and
Yeah.
magnitude in this movie. But with respect to your comment, it's funny, man. Like a lot of these historical movies, um, I think the audiences try to humanize these individuals because they've been placed on
Yeah.
such a high pedestal and they've now become quote
Yep.
unquote icons. So they can't sit there and fathom, like, oh, this guy, he had babies and he cooked dinner and he sat in a chair and put his pants on and wrote books. And like, you can't fathom that this is someone real, tangible, that they can be maimed or they feel cold and things of that ilk. So the movies, they actually lend themselves to humanizing these people. So I definitely appreciate the cast, the time, and the effort that
Yeah.
they put
Yeah,
into
yeah,
this.
no doubt. And I think that's like good historical fiction or even biographies do that part because
Yeah.
they also like because a lot of times like if you're gonna make a movie about somebody, it automatically puts them at superhero status in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
And then
yeah.
like a
Yeah.
really
Definitely.
qualified and really skillful director makes a movie or tells a story that like makes the person feel more like a real person, which I think in a way makes what they
Mm,
accomplish seem even more great. Because it's like, oh, well, this person
yeah.
did have
Definitely.
concerns, they did have reservations, they had fears, they had insecurities, like I do, and so as a result, it's like now that person becomes much more identifiable, you know, or relatable. Sorry, relatable
Yeah.
is what I meant.
Definitely. No, I think it's both. I think it does lend itself to identifying who they are at their core because we only know them based upon perception from other people looking at them and giving their take
Yeah.
upon who that person
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And then like in the story, and it's interesting because like the backdrop, obviously there's Maximus's story of
Hmm.
revenge, and which is
Yeah,
like I know like you love the revenge stories. You love the revenge
yeah,
joints, and this is a great one. And then there's
yeah.
also this idea of like where you're seeing the beginning of the fall of Rome, right? And you're seeing Marcus
Hmm.
Aurelius being like, I think that Rome needs to become a republic owned by the people. And then you have Commodus and even some of the senators who their vision is like more of a emperor totalitarian Roman empire
Hmm.
without even a senate in place. And there's like that juxtaposition and that struggle too. So it's also telling this story about how great societies collapse based on
Mm.
having leadership that is not fit from an emotional standpoint, not fit from a psychological standpoint, and how whenever someone that's not fit becomes in charge, things start to degrade and erode. And then there's also this thing, and I this is like one of the things that really jumped off the screen to me this time was the idea of Commodus saying, okay, this thing is kind of coming apart. And in fact, I want to change it and have it be like it is over here. So now I'm going to distract you with the games. Like I'm gonna get the sleight of hand joint. And it's like it just can't help but make you think about some of the things that we see in modern society now, right? What the distractions
Oh
is, whether
yeah.
that's social media, whether that's a sporting event, whether that's a concert, whatever it is, it's always like, hey, look over here, look at this, so you don't look at that.
And the fact that this is playing out before our very eyes, and you draw the comparisons to things that have already transitioned,
Yep.
is frightening because, as the saying goes, um, people people participate in history. People, they study history,
Mhm.
but they don't learn from history. So, it's very interesting to see how, you know this cycle, this perpetual advance, or supposedly dance. Yeah, dance would even be a better term, that we partake in the hopes of making things better, but it's all futility because we don't learn our lesson. Like, we just like doing it. Um, you have Marcus Aurelius with good intentions of, trying to lead Rome back to the glory of putting the power in the
Mhm.
hands of the people, getting rid of
Mhm.
corruption, leading
Yeah.
by example, like
Yeah.
getting your hands dirty and helping to build up something from nothing. But instead, you have someone who only sees the opulence
Yeah.
of it all. You mentioned about the scale of the tents, and then, the transition and the contrast and comparison of where Commodus and the palace and the things of that ilk, and you could see the ivory and the silk and all of the you know just generous overflowing abundance that they had of wealth on display. Whereas in the marketplace, if you will, where they're strolling down the avenue and you hear them
Mhm.
calling his name, Maximus, Maximus, and you see how, like, they had the prostitutes mixed in with the regular
Mhm.
salesperson, and even when they're meeting in the square and Proximo is trying to barter or garner, a more
Mhm.
prestigious place in the pecking order of the thing. Like, you see all the hustle and bustle of a real city, and it makes you think, like, wow, these
Yeah.
people really existed. Yet these
Yeah.
people really existed.
It's all
Meaning,
gone. Yeah.
like, yeah,
Like, it's
they're
all gone. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, I mean, like you said, man, that's
Hmm.
why that expression, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? And the funny thing, the ironic thing about, when you think about ancient Roman society is that this is also a well-documented history. So it's not oral history, right? So
Hmm.
you can't say that. It's documented, it's been written down, it's been carved in stone, and yet the same process of degradation of society has happened 10, 15 times over since this time as well, right? And it's happened because of poor leadership. And it happens because the wrong people get in
Mm.
charge. And it happens because the people in charge think they are more important than the people, right? And that government can exist somehow outside and above the people when that's never been the intention.
Oh, never, never. I think that has to do more with about the nature of man and greed than it does more than anything else, which I think you cover in some of your likes, as well as in some of the topics that
Yeah.
you wanted to
So yeah,
cover.
so let's get into that. Yeah, let's jump into the cake, man. So I know why don't you start off with it, man? I know you got like some things that you really dug me about.
Yeah, nah, yeah, definitely, man. I do want to mention, like, just the overall story itself is something that I'm really intrigued by, even 24 years later. And I say that because I I now am able to comprehend certain processes. So, for example, it's alluded to and outright pretty much close to spoken about, like Lucilla and
Yep.
Maximus were a thing. And uh, you know, I think most people can relate to, having an ex
Mhm.
that they bump into, and maybe it stirs or rekindles something, or it triggers some type of
Yeah, the one
flashback,
that
if
got
you
away,
will.
man.
And you can see it even on both of their sides. Like, Maximus's wife, who ironically is
Oh,
Ridley
real? Okay,
Scott's
cool.
wife in real
Good
life.
good detail, good detail.
Yeah.
And I thought actually
Um,
looks like Lucilla. Kinda
yeah.
favors her,
Oh
so,
yeah, yeah.
Maximus got it tight.
Yeah. He got it tight. Yeah. Yeah, he got it tight. And I think that's where I was going, where it was like he couldn't get
Mm,
her out of his mind. And if he couldn't have her,
yeah, it's something
he'd
else.
have the next best
Yeah,
thing or something that was similar. And I think a lot of people do that, whether it be unbeknownst or not. They tend to want to gravitate towards familiarity, comfort. So that was one thing about this that I definitely wanted to point out, like that sense of like revisiting and finding something with multi layers to it that I wasn't able to process maybe
yeah.
24 years ago, because I was just like, oh, that's a nice little tidbit or a cute thing or whatever have you to throw in there. I think the next thing that I was definitely intrigued by is the unfamiliarity of what it means to be evil and to have it come from
Oh,
your
that's a good
own
point.
family.
Yeah,
Like these people, like they're
yeah,
chilling with Commodus. You know what I mean? Like this is my brother. We go to
yeah,
dinner and we're doing
yeah,
our thing. But as soon as he hears like, yo, you're not a well man and you are not meant to,
yeah,
like you could
yeah.
cut the tension with a butter knife, and all of a sudden he just it's like he
Yeah.
turned into the Joker, like the
Yo, and
sinister
that and
Joker.
and those are 2 really, really great points, man, because the first thing that you're talking about the Lucilla and Maximus thing, it provides, like, a
Mhm.
good not exactly romantic, but some
Mhm.
male-female sexual tension within the movie. Without it taking
Yeah.
away from it, because if it's almost like if they would have made a
Mhm.
love story happen between them, it might have hurt the movie a little bit, but they didn't do that. But they
Mhm.
got enough of the tension where you have that relatability. And then, like you're saying, with Commodus is like one of the great lunatics in movies, man. He's like one of the great ones. And once again, man, shout outs to Joaquin Phoenix, who just cooks with this
Yeah.
joint because Commodus is like a snake and a rat and a bat and like slime all
All
mixed
in one.
together in it. And it's like, and he's so unstable that
Yeah.
whenever Lucilla's around him and doesn't feel comfortable, you don't feel comfortable for her.
No, not at all. It's with good reason too. I mean, like this guy is on the verge of
With her,
incestuous
right?
relations with
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just makes it makes
Mhm.
your skin crawl. And then the fact that like he can turn real quick and be like, if you don't give me a seed, I mean, if you don't give me an heir, I'm gonna I'm gonna
Yeah.
off your son. And it's like,
Yeah.
who
He's out
thinks
there.
like that?
Commodus is out
Like
there, man. He's way
like
out there.
you wanna sleep with your sister to have a son, and that you're gonna get rid of his
Yeah.
cousin brother?
Commodus is
Like
out there in the
what?
woods, man. He's out there he's out there in the deep end. And then he's got like this thing about him that because he's so unstable, he's also like very threatening. So like even like that
Oh
first
yeah.
scene where he's like sitting in the Senate and they're talking to him and he's like playing with the sword
And he
the whole
waving a
time. Like
knife.
he just
Yeah.
seems like he's like capable of anything, right? And which is exactly why, to your point, like why Marcus Aurelius is like, this dude can't run the country because he can't
Not
run
you,
this
dude.
joint because him not right.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
No, no,
So he
not
knows
at
it, you know what I'm
all,
saying?
man. But I think that's the other thing that drives the movie. Like, you can't bring out the best in the hero unless the villain is like the
Yeah.
extreme
It's a great
worst of the
villain. It's a
worst.
great villain, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he's got the means to make it difficult, like, he's n like, Commodus has some level of power and control and authority that is
Mm.
different from Maximus's, like, Maximus has, like, the people. Like he's
Mm.
respected by the common man, you know what I mean? But Commodus has the throne, he's got the army, he's got the Senate, he's got the money, so it looks a little like they gotta fight their battles on their landscape.
Yeah, and it's not ironic too that Zarface said, every hero needs a villain. Um, the thing that Commodus needs more than anything besides a reality check and a soul is the fact that he feels incomplete because for whatever reason he doesn't have enough love, whether it
Mhm.
be for himself or from his father or the absent mother, or even his sister. But something is not
Yeah.
within him missing. So it's almost justifying his position because it's like if he had that thing, that missing piece, then he wouldn't behave like
Yeah.
such a scoundrel. He wouldn't be so
So that
obtuse
so that's a good
if he
point because
had like
like there's I know it gets into one of the questions that we have. So I know we're gonna come because
Mhm.
I have a thought about that part. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and the thing too is like, you know, unlike the scene where, he's fighting in the gladiator arena, et cetera, he does get assassinated. So, it's funny, that he has a
Mhm.
brief reign. Um, and I'm pretty sure he envisioned greatness for himself, but how sustainable was that? You know what I mean? Like, did you really think that you could do all these
He
things
did.
and get away with it?
He
And
did. He definitely
but
thought
to
he
what
could. He
extent?
definitely thought he could, and he was wrong, man.
I'm just wondering if he really thought this. I wonder if he
Yeah.
really thought
Well,
things
well, I mean,
through,
I think that's
or
part
if
of
he.
like the idea of like narcissism, right? It's the idea like I'm smarter than
Mm,
everybody else. I have this plan that nobody else can
mm.
see. I have this vision and this reality that I'm going to create. And then, of course, you're shocked when it doesn't work that way.
And it's unfortunate too because the decline of Rome, it doesn't coincide with Marcus Aurelius declining health and then the rise of Commodus out of nowhere. Like, it's not a coincidence, and I think that is a telltale sign for a lot of powerful civilizations and even people as individuals. Like within your own home, you can tell when somebody's
Yes.
home is in disarray
Yep.
because of the imbalance, because there may be some type of sickness. It doesn't necessarily have to be an illness such as like
The
uh
Antonine plague.
yeah, in this
Yeah.
case,
Yeah. It does
yeah.
have to be like,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the
right.
measles or the
Right.
mumps or anything like that. It could just be the mental aspect of not being in accordance with
No
the
doubt,
laws
no
of
doubt,
nature.
man, no doubt. So, like, so I know you talked about like the cinematography earlier as like one of the things that you really
Yeah.
dug. What about? I think you mentioned all, and you talked a little bit about the story, the cast. I know cast is like something that
Oh
you,
man.
yeah,
A major thing. Yeah, it's a major tenet because you're bringing these characters to life and you're giving someone the actual visual presence of what it means to be, because that's how you're actually going in,
yeah,
at least for me anyway, that you're going into the movie like, I am Marcus Aurelius and I'm disappointed on the way my life has
yeah,
turned out. I have some regrets. I'm able to give a fair and honest assessment of what it is or what it meant to be the emperor of Rome during this particular period. So with me, Russell Crowe, sure, he's been in
Russell
other
cooking, man.
movies, but in this,
Let Russ
yeah,
cook,
like
man,
he was the
as they say in Pittsburgh. Let
no,
Russ
that's real.
cook, man.
In this case, I'll allow that reference, Alex. But yeah, he definitely gets busy in this, and it's surprising for me, at least, to see like, oh wow, he's so commanding, even with the. It doesn't
Yeah.
even have to be words,
Hmm.
gestures, a facial expression, not saying something, like just his
Yeah.
mere presence gives off that energy of like, yeah, I'm in command
Yep.
at all times.
Let me ask you a quick question
Um,
because that just made
I
me think
think the
about something.
fact,
So
oh yeah.
Russell Crowe, when I think about him, I think about Gladiator, I think about A
Mhm.
Beautiful Mind, and I think
Mm.
about American Gangster, right? Like the characters that kind of
Oh, of
jump off the
course.
screen. Of those three, like how would you rate those three in terms of like his performances?
Wow. Um,
I love when I get asked you a good question, man, and you gotta really like you gotta
yeah.
stroke the beard about that one, man. What you got, man? What you think?
I'm gonna go with Beautiful Mind because it didn't rely upon any type of like violence to cause
Got it.
the intimidation or instill fear. Um, I'm gonna go with only because the
Mhm.
settings are familiar. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
American Gangster because him
Mhm.
being Richie,
And just think, you remember
like
the
I,
name, like, that's a testament to how well
yeah,
he played the role, right? You remember that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And like the scenes, the interactions with his ex and about
Mhm.
about his son and things like that, like I
It's
I
relatable,
just
right,
get it,
yeah,
you
you
know what I
get
mean?
that.
Like,
And
yeah,
then last is
yeah.
Maximus. Yeah,
Last
Maximus,
but not
okay.
least, yeah. And only because, don't get me wrong, like, I love this movie, I love him in it, but for me, I think it's because, maybe, um, I think I just expected him to be
Yeah,
great, You know what I mean? Even though those movies
Mhm.
came after him, I just I saw things
Yeah.
in him early on where it was like, yeah, I could see him
Yeah.
being a gladiator and a
Yeah. Well,
general
I
and doing
mean,
these
we
things.
covered State of Play with Russell Crowe in it
Mhm.
a couple
Mhm.
like many episodes ago actually. He was great in that. Like as the
Yeah.
journalist, who has a friend, obviously it's Ben Affleck's
Mhm.
character. He's got a lot of versatility. And I think the fact that even those three roles that we're talking about, Maximus, Richie, and then of course the character in A Beautiful Mind, which is the role that he actually won an Academy Award for, is a testament to like,
Mhm.
this dude, he's doing his thing, man. So
Yeah, man. I mean, like, if you go to his filmography, like he was in
yes.
Virtuosity.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's
So
right.
like you
That's
just
right.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I just and that
Yeah.
was in '95. So that's why I'm like him 5 years later. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. You know what I'm saying? Like he was in
Yep.
LA
Also a really good
Confidential.
movie. Yep.
He was on the Cup Crop, and he ends up dying in that movie too. So it's for me, it's not like I didn't
Yeah.
foresee that coming. Like, nah, he can play
Yeah.
the action hero and run
Mhm.
around, do some stunts, and you know what I mean, things of that ilk. So that's why, no knock against anybody else. I just want to see him do something that may have called for more drama and more
Yeah.
of being an actor than actually a
Mhm.
action
Yeah. And
hero.
it seems like career-wise, that's also what he wanted too. 'Cause he did 'cause
Yeah.
he
Oh
played, like,
yeah.
a lot of different types of role, and then, like, on the far end of the spectrum, then, like, he's also Zeus in, Thor: Love and Thunder, right? Which
Yeah. Love and Thunder.
which is, like, complete comedy, you know what I mean? Complete
Yeah.
different from that, man. So, like, you were saying, like, him,
Yep.
obviously Joaquin Phoenix, um, anybody else think yep,
Oh, Connie Nielsen is Wonder Woman's mom, by the
yep,
way. Hi, Apollo. But she gets busy, man. I think the fact that one, she's statuesque, meaning like she's taller than most females in these movies. I think she's about like
okay,
5'7". So she's able to have a presence of
yeah,
just the physicality, but yet she can also be demure
yeah,
and cunning and
mhm,
strategist, and she can carry very intellectual conversations. She brings a
yeah,
mind to the role. You know what I mean? So kudos to her. I think also the fact that there are a number of individuals who are in this movie that, although they're no longer here, the fact that they were able to lend themselves. So outside of that cast,
that's my man,
Proximo,
yo, Proximo,
um,
yeah, that's what I do. I rock with him in this
like
movie, yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like even
Mhm,
Cassius. The actors that played them, although they would transition shortly thereafter the completion of the movie, 2002 and I want to say 2004 respectively. I'll come back to revisit it if I check my notes. But the fact that they were able to like tap back
yeah,
into the well again and be like, hey, I've been a great actor for an
yeah,
extended period of time. And of course, Juba.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
John
I give
McHonson, give
respect.
us
You know
freak,
what I mean?
as we
Yeah.
as we like to
Yeah.
call him, man. Yeah. Yeah, man,
Hmm.
from the, Janet Jackson videos, man, what was that,
Yeah.
All For You or something like that? Which
Yeah. I
yeah,
think it is all for
dang,
you.
it's gonna come to me. It wasn't I forgot which one it was. Anyway, we'll look that one up. But, yeah, no, I mean, like,
Yeah.
really good actors, and it just I mean, it's like as you said, man, it's a great movie. It's just a great movie. So,
Because it brings
yeah,
out the best in them. If the
yeah,
writing is on point, these guys are this is a grueling setting. Remember, it goes from a desert type area where the air is a little bit arid, the climate's a little bit more, hot and bothersome. Like, you're dealing with scorpions and camels in 1 minute, and then the next you're in Germania dealing with the cold and the winters, and the elements are not kind
yeah,
between that transition, and then you're back in Rome, and all of a sudden you're dealing with a slight, whether it be if you're on the coast or not, and you're dealing with the humidity or the waves. So it's like a lot of different things
yeah,
going on all at once. And these actors and actresses, they get into a groove, they get into a pattern where, what they say, forget all that. We can
yeah,
focus on the script and play off of each other, and just the back and forth
yeah,
is
it
really
is,
compelling.
no doubt, man. Anything else you got on the cake side before I
I have so much, man, but I'm gonna
yeah,
let
I
you
get so
rock
much.
out, man.
Alright, so I got a couple
Yeah.
quick things, like, I think you gave like the macro picture of the things, and I have like a couple of small
Yeah.
little things that I saw like in the movie that I loved. First, and you alluded to it, the relationship between Maximus and Lucilla, particularly that plays out in
Hmm.
the scene where she talks to him right after he got done talking to Marcus Aurelius, right? And it's like that's
Yeah.
the scene where she kind of lets you know we used to be together, right? I used to like you, you
Hmm.
used to like me. It didn't work out, right? And there's that vibe. But then there's also kind of weird vibe where her father sees Maximus as like a son. So they got like that
Good
kind of
son you should have
weirdness.
had.
But then what I really think is
Hmm.
interesting about that scene is Maximus is committed to his wife, right? Lucilla's husband is
Hmm.
dead. She's like kind of feeling him like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? What's up? It's late, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like the late night text kind of conversation, right? And in that scene, every time Maximus tries to get away from her, she can tell him to stop, and he has to do it because she's the princess. So if you watch the scene, he'll be like trying to walk away. She'll be like, Maximus, stop. And he has to stop. And he has to because of her authority. And this is like a great scene about power dynamics, right? Like she can
Yeah.
almost force him to do what she wants, except the thing that she really wants him to do, which is really like her still. And he's like moved on. So
Hmm.
I just like that scene. I always thought like that scene like just really cooks, right? So then the next scene that I'm thinking about is the scene between Commodus and Marcus, right? And this is when you talked about it earlier too. This is when Marcus tells Commodus that like you're not going to be in charge. Like I'm gonna give it to Maximus
Mm.
because you're off, and I'm sorry that you're off. I wish I had done a better job as a dad, but I didn't. So here we are, right? And Commodus is like that scene, man. Joaquin Phoenix, we've talked about him before and different things. The way that he conveys the hurt of his dad telling him you're not good enough, the
Mm.
rage of hearing that, and how, like you said before, it flips a switch in him where he becomes, kind of like emotional brat to like vicious kind of
Mm.
person who suffocates and kills his own dad. Amazing scene between the two of them. And for him to say, like, he even says, like, I remember your principles, and he runs down the Stoic principles: courage, discipline, patience,
Mhm.
temperance. And he's like, I know I don't have none of those, right? Like, I know I'm not built like that, but I have ambition and I'm willing to do anything for this
Mhm.
job, right? And it doesn't work, right? But it's like in that scene, you get all the danger of Commodus. Like, Commodus is ruthless based on that scene. And I just love how that goes, right? So I love that one. Two more quick ones. One, um, the scene with Maximus versus the Super Gladiator. Like I know, like I forgot who they said, but apparently this is like a dude they brought out of retirement. They were like,
I think his name
Right,
is
right. So they're
Tigress.
like, we brought back Tigers, right? And Tigers is in that joint, and then literally they got Tigers in the Gladiator thing with him. And the scene is so great because Marcus is like, I mean, I'm sorry, Malcolm. Yeah, Malcolm. Yeah, I'm
Malcolm.
thinking about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, right? But Maximus
Mm.
is like standing there in the hallway, and he's like, "This is not what Marcus Aurelius wanted." And he just runs up the steps and fights. And it's like they got
Yeah, it
tigers
tells
in there.
you.
It's so crazy. It's like the Doctor Evil thing when he's like, "We're gonna get sharks with lasers on them." Like
Mhm.
they could have just showed Commodus up there with doing the Birdman, rub the hands together joint, because he just tried to set him up so much and it didn't work. And it just makes for an epic scale and fights. I love that scene. And then last but not least, one of the greatest scenes of all movie history. You will never tell me different. The scene where Maximus reveals himself not only to Commodus but to
Mm.
everybody, tells them, "I'm Maximus,
Yeah, that's the
the
greatest
father to a
reveal.
slain son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my revenge in this life or the next."
Especially
Oh
when the
man,
beat comes in.
it's like one of those
Mm.
scenes that everybody just feels that. Everybody feels that. Like we always talk about like how like certain villains they earn the beating that they get. He
Yeah, oh
absolutely
yeah, he
earns
earned
that
that,
beating.
yeah.
He
And
absolutely
I shall
earns it.
have my
Like
vengeance
you watch it,
in
you're
this
like,
life or the
this
next.
dude, he absolutely, yeah, he gonna have to get him. He gonna have to get him, man.
All I could feel was the sense of dread, enthusiasm, excitement, fear. Like it was so mixed emotions all
Yeah,
at once though. Like I was pulled in so many directions because the beat was on point, the speech was terrifying, and then I'm looking at Commodus Benjamin,
Commodus just
you
shook
know.
daddy. He was shook. He was looking like, oh, I thought she was dead.
And when he was, it was, "I
Right.
ordered your death,
Right.
and now it's like you back?
Right.
Like,
And then
how
you
did this
see
go
Lucilla
down?"
jump up out of her seat. And he's alive.
Yeah. It's like, "My
Oh,
boyfriend's back." You know what
that
I
is
mean?
one
Like,
of the greatest scenes in movies,
yeah,
period.
man.
It's like, like how there's just those scenes in movies that they just stick with you forever. Like Luke
Mhm.
Skywalker in Cloud City, and he comes in
No,
and
that
all no, I'm
can't
talking
be
about the beginning of the
true.
fight when it's like he comes in the thing and all the
Oh,
lights
yeah.
come up and Vader stand at the top of the steps. Just you just remember
Yeah.
that scene forever. This joint with Maximus, great scene.
It's
That's my
iconic,
cake,
man.
and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'm definitely with you. And the funny thing is, Tigress is played by a gentleman by the name of Sven
Yeah,
Ole
that looks like a Sven.
Thorson.
That looks like yeah, Sven,
Whoo!
because he got like the big, like he looked
Thorson,
like a old ex
son of Thor.
like an ex defensive lineman in the NFL. That's
Oh
what he
yeah,
looked like.
yeah, man.
That's a good one, man. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he
so all right,
does.
so that's our cake, man. So we got that as the cake. Let's get into the hate. I'm not gonna barely. I don't have anything for this one. I love this film, so I have nothing but love for this and nothing but cake for it. I know you got one thing. I know you do, man. So what's your
Yeah, but it's nitpicking, and it was forcing me to be like, if I have to choose something,
okay?
then
What you
so
got?
be it. And in my case, I CJ said it before in the pre-production meeting. I'll say it once more again. I don't like the death of the main character in any movie. I
Yeah,
don't
you
care what
don't.
it is.
You
I'm
don't,
just
man.
I think it's a lame trope, man. I think it's done. I think it's the
You want
equivalent of
everybody
clickbait.
to
I think
live,
it's
man.
done because I think it's sensationalism. I think they do it in order to be like, I can't believe he killed him. Like I can't believe he died. How'd that happen? Like it's
So
whack, man.
you wanted Marcus. So I can say Marcus. You wanted Maximus to live at the end. Okay, no, I
Yeah,
get. I
of
mean, but look, that's
course.
consistent because that's how you always want the hero to live. Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Well, if you say one thing,
That's
I
very
am
true.
consistent, man. I mean, but the thing is like I'm looking at it from the standpoint of say you want to make a sequel. How are you
Mm.
going to make a sequel if you kill off the main character? Where do you go from there? Two, there's still
Oh,
meat
there
on the
was. Yeah.
bones.
Well, that's gonna be
Like,
one of my. I got a
like you
question
could
about that. Yeah, absolutely.
they could still do so
Mhm.
much with the character. I get it. You want to leave the party before you
Of course.
overstay your welcome or before it becomes whack. I get it. But the timing for that wasn't right. So, I get why they did it. It pulls on your heartstrings. Oh, Maximus, like he'll live on forever in
Mhm.
perpetuity. Like I get all that, but I think that they could have done so much more, and it would have enriched the movie that much more if he
Yeah.
would have stayed
I could see
alive.
that. I could say, of course, like I'm actually on the other side because I like when the hero dies. Like
I know.
that's
It's
why
some
we vibe, man.
sinister.
But you know what's funny about that scene is like after they like they're like who will help me as I carry Maximus out. It's so funny because they just leave Commodus sitting there in the street dead.
Yo, when I first
Yo,
saw that, I was like, "They just gonna
they
leave his
just
body for
left
the
him there, and I'm
vultures?"
thinking like Lucilla wasn't like, "Dang, my brother is dead there in the street."
And then
The
brother
little
said,
What is it? Lucius isn't like, "Damn, that is my uncle laying there dead
"Yeah."
in the street." Like nobody cares. They
Mine's
just
like,
keep it
"Yo."
moving, and they just walk off, exit stage left, and just leave. Just leave Commodus laying there in the arena.
I'm just like, "What did you think was gonna happen though, fam?" Like, I know they alluded to him, practicing his
Yeah,
sword fighting skills, whatever, but I'm like, "Those are stationary
yeah,
targets. They're not gonna go all out because
yeah,
you're the prince, and God
yeah,
forbid something happens, they're gonna be
yeah.
put to death. They're
But
gonna
I
be
think
executed."
that part. I mean, so one, he did poison him. So I think he poisoned him. He felt like, okay, you're gonna die, so that I'll win by cheating. But also, and this I think is back.
I didn't know he poisoned him. I thought he stabbed him with the tip of an arrow and then told
Yeah,
him
but
to
I thought
cover
there was
up the
poison
wounds
on
on
that because
there.
remember there was a scene where the one senator was saying there's a poison that you
Oh.
can give people that will
Yeah, I
kill.
just thought that was
Yeah,
a parallel that they were trying to draw where they were saying like this fish, he can allow things to
oh,
bite
okay.
him and he's playing
Yeah,
coy and playing dead. Like I just
yeah.
thought it was an
Yeah,
analogy.
but
But
I
you
think
might be
either
right.
way he tried to
You
stack the
might
deck. but it's
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what Commodus actually realizes is that he may be the emperor. He's
He's a
crazy.
weasel.
Yeah, he does realize that. But it's like he realizes, like, yeah, I might be the emperor, but I'm not in charge because the people are with him. So if I beat him in the
Mhm.
arena, then I can have the people because I proved like
Yeah.
I can beat this dude allegedly. Allegedly,
Fair
right?
point. That's a
So
fair
it's
point.
like there's also like that showmanship. Like Commodus really like under
Mm.
he's a well yes,
He's a
but he's a
prima donna.
well-designed villain because he gets the thinking of Rome. He understands like, "Oh, I can give
Yes.
you this and you'll accept that. If I beat Maximus in this arena, y'all will love me even
Mhm.
more." But, it just didn't go
And
right.
that and that
It
goes
just
to my
didn't go the
point.
way that you
Yeah.
thought it was going to. You slept on the
And
dude.
that goes to my point of saying, like, he has that thing missing and he wants love. I think that thing that he was missing is the ability to
Mhm.
ingratiate himself with others and then them to also be
Yeah.
honor bound to him. It was a reason why he was like, swear
Yeah,
allegiance to
absolutely,
me.
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, so Commodus, man, he's missing a lot, but there's also a couple of things that we
mhm.
thought we had a couple questions we had about things that might be missing in the movie too, man. So yo, let's
Mm.
jump into it. I know you got a couple questions. I got a couple, man.
Yes,
Let's jump into
sir.
the questions.
So what happens to Juba? Does he make it
Yeah,
back
so
to his
Juba makes
homeland?
I think yes. So Juba makes it back to his homeland, makes it back to his family. They
Okay.
have kids. Like 4 generations later, they have Give Us Free. He gets captured by the Amistad.
Mm.
He goes back to the joint. So that's like Juba's whole life story and his family life story is about getting captured and put in slavery. That's what I think happens. I know that's a bitter story, but
Okay.
here
Nah, but nonetheless, it's creative.
it is.
I'll definitely
Thank
give it
you.
points for that. So why was Lucilla not as evil
Yeah.
as her
So this
brother?
is good, man. This is a good question because it goes back to something that you said. The movie tries to give the picture that Commodus kind of never had what he needed in terms of love, right? And that's why he's kind of like the way he is.
Mhm.
I'm not, this is me personally, I'm not a big believer in like everything that's wrong with a person is based on what somebody else did or didn't do. I actually think that like as people, we have to have some agency and some ownership and some accountability for our own decisions.
Yeah.
I think like Commodus would have been Commodus no matter what. Lucilla would have been Lucilla no matter what. They both had the same dad. Now they might have had different
Mm.
relationships, but I think Lucilla is different because she also has a child. And so she has someone else to
Mhm.
think about that's a real person.
Dang.
Whereas Commodus, you don't even
Yeah.
see like Commodus, even in the movie, he don't really have a woman. He don't have nothing going on. You don't really
Yeah,
right,
he
but his
thinks
woman he
he has
thinks
a
his woman is
woman.
a sister, but like that's distorted and weird. Like you don't really know what Commodus's vibe is. His vibe is weird. So it's like he doesn't have that immediate thing. So I think Lucilla's what makes Lucilla come across as being probably more good, although I don't know if you could really say she's good, but more good is that she has that attachment to her son and like that maternal instinct part.
Mm. I like that. I like that. Um, let me jump down a little bit here. Okay. Is the fight for justice
No,
ever over?
it's not, man. Like I don't know if this was a movie or a book, but someone said or wrote like evil is never resting, so good men can't afford to. And it's like
Wow. I need you to repeat that again for the audience.
evil is
One
never
more
resting,
time.
so good men can't afford to. So it's like
Woo!
that's where it is, man. Like I think
Flex,
yeah,
drop a
right.
bomb to that.
Right. So it's like and I can't take credit for that. I know somebody else I got it from somebody, so whoever it is, thank you for it.
Still, the ability to drop that
So it's
line.
like I think
Woo!
like that's what it comes down to. Like you can't part of what I think resonates about this movie is like the idea of what one man can do. One man can
Mm.
change the trajectory of a society. Like even Commodus kind of runs it down. The general who became a slave, the slave that became a gladiator, the
Yeah.
gladiator that challenged an empire. It sounds like a nice story, right? But it's like it is a great story.
I'd buy that. I'd
Yeah,
buy
it's a
that to see
great
that
story,
movie.
and that's what resonates with it, and that's why because I think inside, like, we're all pushing for, like, that idea of, like, justice, whatever we think justice is. You gotta keep pushing.
I dig it, man. Woo! CJ's on a
It's on
roll up in here,
vacation, got
folks.
my rest,
He's on. He's in
got my 8 hours of
fuego.
sleep.
All right.
Wait till I get a haircut, y'all won't be able
I
to
dig
stop
it.
me then.
I can't stop. Um, what does it mean to be
Yeah,
free?
this is a great question for this particular movie because, Maximus is never really Maximus is almost more free as a gladiator than he is as a soldier. Because as a
Elaborate, please.
soldier, he's still under the control of the king. So part of the tension in this movie is Maximus is really ready to be done with war, and he's ready to be done with fighting, and he really wants Marcus Aurelius to say, "You're good. Go
You can go
home.
home.
You did your service." But Marcus doesn't let him do that. So even though he's like the general and he's in charge, he's not really free to do what he wants. And then of course, Commodus tries to put that
Mm.
pressure on him too. And when he rejects it, then Commodus is like, "All right, cool, I'm gonna kill your family and you because I'm a psychopath."
It is
Because I'm a
so
psychopath, right?
passionate. All right.
But when he's the gladiator, all of a sudden he doesn't have all the attachments and he can be free
Mm.
because as long as he's doing the fighting, the crowd loves him. He's untouchable. Even Commodus can't kill him because he's the gladiator. If he dies, then he dies. But as Proximus says so eloquently, we're all dead men anyway. So in that moment, like once he's the gladiator, that's like the most free that Maximus has been because he's also unencumbered by all the concerns, all the worries. He has nothing else left. He's lost his family, he's lost his property, he's
Mm.
lost his role, but now he achieves the freedom to do and be whoever he wants, which is like this badass Maximus in the end.
Wow, that's tough, man. I can't even dispute that or argue with
That's
that.
that.
Major props to you,
Oh
man, on the
man,
thorough
you
breakdown of
sleeping,
the
man. Get
question.
my rest, man. I'm getting my rest, man. All right, so I got something for you, man. So I got something. I'm gonna ask you
Okay.
to dig deep on these ones, man. All right. The
All
first
right.
one, this kind of gets back to one of your points about earlier about Maximus. So, what
Okay.
happens to in this story if Maximus lives?
I think that he helps in the transition of Rome going from a
Hmm.
authoritative state into a democracy
Okay.
or a republic, the way that it was envisioned and originated. I think then that he then retires and he tries to rebuild
Okay.
his life again. I don't think he wants to be a part of
Do
public
you think
service
him and
anymore.
Lucilla get back together?
I think he puts it on the table, and I think that she ends up saying like, "No, I'm doing it for my kids. My son is this is the only way to ensure his future and my bloodline, et
Ah,
cetera,
okay.
et
So
cetera."
you think she stays in Rome in the kingdom sort of
Yeah,
thing, and he goes and just kicks it in the wilderness?
yeah. They become like they may be co-rulers for a minute. She may even like be his um empire. I mean, excuse me, emperor in
Empress.
I forget the
Empress.
exact term, but no, 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 no. There's a term like for individuals who are like on the cusp of turning a certain age before they can take over and assume the throne.
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah, I
forget.
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like a
Yes, regent. Yeah,
regent.
yeah, yeah.
It's not.
Crown regent or something like that.
Um,
Or prince or
yeah.
princess regent.
So
Yeah.
even
Mhm.
yeah. So I think even though she's not a male, I think like somehow she's able to still provide
Okay.
influence with respect to that, and that's one of the reasons why
Okay.
she doesn't
All right.
leave.
I could see that happening. Okay. All right. What are your I know this is this is a great question. All right. Well, it's not a great question,
Mhm.
but it's you're gonna have I know the answer is gonna be great. What are some of your favorite lines from this movie?
Oh man. Well, we touched upon the one, which is I think like the one of, if not the greatest line of all time, just regardless of like cinema. Where he basically
Mm,
reveals himself. He's like, Gladiator,
yeah.
why won't you? Don't turn your
Yeah.
back on me. I always find it funny too that the Romans and always
The
speak with
British
this like
accent, joint,
British
yeah. Yeah.
snobbish
Yeah.
act. Yeah, like where'd that
Yeah.
come from? Like that don't sound like an
Yeah.
Italian I know. But that's just my thing. Um, I think also that, you know, how can I put this? I think that this movie does a great job of even minimizing the lines that are just whatever.
I agree with you
So like when
100%.
they're in
Yep.
the hall and they're eating the soup and he's like, you have a great name.
Yeah.
He must kill your name. And then they mess with the bull, and the dude, he starts going, he's like, and then they're like, "Yo, man, you
Yeah.
can't even play
Yeah.
like that, yo." We like, this place is known for
Right. Right.
poisoning cats, yo. Um, so I think that like just
Mhm.
that little scene right there. It's
Mhm.
nothing great. It's nothing like, you know, awesome, it's nothing outlandish or anything like that, but just the
Yeah.
subtleties of it. And then last but not least, I think there's that scene when he's like, she's like basically trying to plead with him as far as like in the dungeon and everything. He's like, then have him kill
Yeah.
Commodus. Like that
Yeah.
whole
That's a good
scene
one.
is so
Yeah.
powerful. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
I
it's a little
got
bit
you.
of
I got you,
everything.
man. There's a couple it went as I was taking notes on this, I was taking
Yeah.
up so many lines. That's what made me ask you the question, right? So obviously, like
Right, right,
strength and
right.
honor, right? That's an amazing
Hmm.
line, right? On my
Oh
on
yeah.
my
It's
signal,
easy.
unleash hell.
Oh, at least,
that's a
yeah.
that's a great one. What we do in this life echoes in eternity. Come on, come on. There's always someone left to fight. How about
Shadows and
people should know when they are conquered.
yeah. Or the joint where Proximo goes, "We're just
Yeah,
shadows
Shadows and
and
Dust.
dust."
Oh man, you remember that, right? Like when he says like still alive, the gods must have a sense of humor. And then how
Yo,
about dirt washes off easier than blood? When he talks about being a
who comes
it's
up with
great.
these
It's
lines,
just
man?
great. It's great
I
writing.
Matter of fact, let's hold on. Well, that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to look
It's
up the
it's great,
screenplay writers
great
or
writing, man.
writer.
It's great writing. But all right though, man. So while you're looking at that,
Woo!
I got two more for you. So this movie came
Yeah.
out in 2000, right? Now 2000, like this generation or whatever it now is called, like the aughts this time. Is this
Mhm.
movie easily one of the 10 best movies of the last 24 years? Yeah.
Easy. I ain't even got to
Yeah.
pause on
I
it.
think so.
Easy.
I think so. I
Easily.
think I think yes.
Easily.
I agree. This is a movie. I've never actually talked to somebody who didn't like Gladiator. Male,
Because you won't. And
female,
if they
black,
do, they're
white, it
crazy.
doesn't matter. Like people love this movie. Like it just resonates with people, man. And that brings us to
Look,
my
if
last question, which a little bit of a foreshadowing on this. And obviously, we don't know, we probably won't know the real answer till like 2 weeks from now, but do you
Mhm.
think a sequel will help or hurt this film? Or do not or have no
hurt,
impact whatsoever? I think it hurts.
hurt,
All right, tell me why. Break that
hurt.
down for me.
The major character is not in it. He was so captivating and so motivating and such an influential force, almost like a primal sense. Like
Yeah.
that's missing. I already mentioned before, like there were a lot of great actors in this joint, man. Like we mentioned Richard Harris, but there's also the guy who played Cassius is
Mhm.
David Hemmings. He's not in it. Derek Jacobi, he was in it. What's the guy's name? Oh, John Shrapnel, who
Mhm.
played Gaius. Some of these individuals, they're veteran actors. They're
Yeah. Yeah.
actors. You know what I'm saying? And they're no longer there to be a part of this. And they created, although minor players, they leave
Yeah.
lasting
Yeah. Once you
images.
say the
You know
name,
what
I
I mean?
know like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. All right. So you
Yeah.
think that like so it's almost like you're saying this movie really doesn't need a sequel. That's interesting. Yeah.
No.
I remember when we did
It doesn't
yeah.
need, but would have liked for
Yeah.
there to be a
Well, I guess we're
sequel.
gonna see. It reminds me kind of the conversation we
Hmm.
had many shows ago about the Matrix, and like,
Yeah.
did the Matrix actually even need another sequel? Because every sequel was worse than the sequel before it, like, or not as good. If I want to be
Well,
like acid based language.
it was like if you're trying to recreate that which brought you the fame, you're doing yourself and the audience a disservice because now you're trying to create a template and it's just, you know, pancake mix, just insert
Mm,
water and now you've got X, Y, and
mm,
Z. But the reason why these people are gravitating to these films is because there's a
yeah,
uniqueness. There's a desire to see these things. And quite frankly, people don't know that they
yeah.
need to see
That's a
that.
great point.
And I think
Yeah,
that's the
that's a great
reveal.
point. All right, cool. Well, look, let's get into the popcorn on it, man. I don't think we got a
Mhm.
debate on this one at all, man. We giving this
No, not at all.
5 boxes for both of us, man. This is like one of the
Easy.
5 boxes. It's a great film. I can't imagine that someone has not seen this, but if you haven't, go out and see that.
Smoking crack.
You said crack. Yo,
Smoking
go
crack,
out. Yo,
man.
definitely try to see it. It's the crazy thing about streaming is like, have you ever noticed that whenever a sequel is about to come out, you suddenly can't find the movie for
Yeah.
free on streaming anymore anywhere? That's how this is. I actually had to watch this on like Apple TV and had to pay for it. Although I knew it was sitting on Netflix
See?
for like years, man. All of a sudden it's gone. So right,
Just
and like
collecting
Shadows
dust.
and Dust. They did the Shadows and Dust joint. But yeah,
Yeah,
if you
man.
haven't seen it, absolutely go out and see it. This is a fantastic film. You won't be disappointed. Mr. Will, give us
Mhm.
this closing and this summary, and then
Yes,
we're
sir.
out of here, man.
Yes, sir. Gladiator is a timeless epic that masterfully blends breathtaking action, compelling storytelling, and profound themes of honor, loyalty, and revenge. The movie's monumental and it's a blockbuster in length and scale, yet proportionate to the grand age in which it's reset. However, despite its complexity, it's still a simplistic tale. Directed by Ridley Scott, the film not only showcases the brutal grandeur of ancient Rome, but also delves deep into the human spirit, exploring the cost of power, the pursuit of justice, and the consequences of betrayal. Russell Crowe's iconic portrayal of Maximus has become one of cinema's most memorable performances, earning him an Academy Award. With its stunning visuals, powerful score, and unforgettable characters, Gladiator remains a landmark in modern filmmaking, resonating with audiences worldwide for its emotional depth and
There it
timeless
is, man.
message.
There it is. Everything, all facts, no fiction on that one. So listen, man. If you once again, like we said from the beginning, we're doing Gladiator this week. We will be back next week with Gladiator 2. So that's gonna be heavy spoilers for that. If you haven't seen it, you may want to take a break before you come and check us out. But definitely make sure you check us out. And also, please like, subscribe, share this videos. That helps us to
Yes.
expand the people that we can bring this form of edutainment and entertainment to. Once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast. Our YouTube channel is up and running and humming. Please like.